History is often told in stone because stone is hard to ignore. We are taught to marvel at the pyramids of Giza or the Great Wall of China because they stand visible, defiant against the sky. But what if I told you that the greatest architectural feat in human history was made of the very earth we walk upon, and that it was so vast, so mathematically complex, that it makes the Great Wall of China look like a garden fence? Welcome to the Benin Empire. Not the modern country of Benin, but the ancient Edo Kingdom of Nigeria. For over 600 years, this civilization protected itself with a network of walls and moats stretching over 16,000 kilometers. That's 10,000 miles. To put that into perspective, if you laid these walls in a straight line, they would stretch from New York City to Tokyo, and you would still have enough left over to reach Australia. In 1974, the Guinness Book of Records officially recognized these as the largest earthworks of the pre-mechanical era. Yet, by 2026, they remain a ghost in Western textbooks. Why? As Dr. Chancellor Williams famously argued in The Destruction of Black Civilization, the conqueror's first job is to rewrite the victim's history until they appear to have none. To acknowledge the walls of Benin is to acknowledge an African mastery of logistics and urban planning that was supposed to be impossible. Today, we bring the receipt. Western cities are built on Euclidean geometry, squares, right angles, and straight lines. It is a top-down philosophy. But the Edo people used something the West didn't even name until the 1970s: fractal geometry. Ethnomathematician Dr. Ron Eglash discovered that Benin City was not randomly scattered. It was a masterpiece of self-similar scaling. The house of the individual was a miniature version of the street was a version of the ward, and the ward was a version of the king's palace. This is high-level recursive mathematics. It reveals that the Edo didn't just build, they calculated. When the Portuguese reached Benin in the 1400s, they didn't find a village. They found a metropolis. They described streets wide as the eyes can see and lamps that burned all night. Cheikh Anta Diop reminded us that while Europe was struggling through the dark ages of plague and filth, the African interior was already using street lighting and advanced sanitation. This wasn't primitive luck. It was a deliberate application of science. Let's look at the receipt of the labor. To build 10,000 miles of walls, the Edo moved over 200 million cubic yards of earth. Estimates by historians like Robin Walker suggest this required 150 million man-hours. Think about the logistics. To keep a workforce that large, fed, housed, and organized for decades, you need a highly sophisticated state. You need a surplus of agriculture, a complex tax system, and a guild of engineers. These walls were known as iya. They were ditch-and-dike structures, a deep moat dug into the earth, with the excavated soil piled high to form an inner wall. In some areas, these walls were 20 meters high, the height of a 6-story building. But here is the genius part. They were coated in a specific type of clay that hardened in the sun, making them nearly impossible to scale. This was an active defense machine. It encased 500 interconnected settlements over an area of 6,500 square kilometers. It wasn't just a wall. It was a living, breathing motherboard of a civilization. Affiliate call to action. If you want to see the technical blueprints of this civilization, I've linked Robin Walker's When We Ruled in the description. This is the primary source we use to prove these numbers. So if it was so great, why don't you see it on the news? This brings us to the tragedy of February 1897. The British Empire wanted the rubber and palm oil of the Benin region, but the Oba, the king, was a sovereign ruler who demanded fair trade. He wouldn't bow. The British sent a punitive expedition. 1,200 troops equipped with Maxim guns and rocket tubes, technologies the Edo's ancient flintlocks couldn't match. As Dr. Chancellor Williams explains, European exploration was often just a code word for organized looting. They didn't just conquer the city, they tried to delete it. They stole over 3,000 artifacts, the Benin bronzes, which were the historical records of the Edo people, cast in metal. Then they set the city on fire. The great city of Benin burned for days. The fire was so intense it baked the very earth of the walls. The British officials wrote back to London describing the city as barbaric, while they were literally walking away with its genius in their pockets. They couldn't burn the 10,000 miles of earth, so they did the next best thing. They left it out of the textbooks. They allowed the jungle to swallow the Iya. They turned a global wonder into a myth because a myth doesn't require an apology. But we have the satellite data now. We have the receipts. The walls of Benin are a testament to what we can achieve when we build from our own mathematics and our own soil. As Dr. Diop once said, the African historian who evades the problem of Egypt is neither modest nor objective. He is ignorant. The same applies to Benin. To ignore this engineering is to ignore our own power. The walls are still there. They are overgrown, but they are defiant. We are not a people who started in the mud. We are a people who mastered the earth itself. The 10,000-mile wall is a receipt that cannot be voided. It is time to settle the debt of our history. I am the ancestors' receipt. If this truth moved you, subscribe to the archive. Share this video with one person who still thinks we were discovered. The debt is being settled. We'll see you in the next episode.